Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, over these last few days in the news, they've been talking about all of the Marines and sailors that have been deployed. And, I even seen some that were waiting to board the plane at airports going into the Middle East. Donald Trump believes he can take over the Straits of Hormuz. And let me tell you something. You know why Donald Trump is so desperate to get that open? Because him and his buddies all got oil stocks. And, the oil prices are going up and the stocks have been in the red. It's been crashing. And he wants to get that back up so that their stocks can skyrocket and make a lot of money. This is more about their pockets. So you notice he's not worried about anything else. He's not even worried about escorting the Americans that are stuck there and get them out. You notice he ain't even concerned about that? Nope, just the oil. Just the oil is the priority. And we know that's always been the priority. So he seems to think they're going to be able to take that over from the Iranians by force. And we already seen how fierce the Iranians have fought all the way up until now. They are not going to be easy to take anything from. I believe a lot of lives are going to be lost while Donald Trump sits in the comfort of the White House. He's not sacrificing anything. He's not even sacrificing anyone in his family. And so this is the plan. We'll see how it unfolds, but I believe it will happen this week. It could be next week, but I definitely know in order for all these people being deployed, it's going to be very soon. It's going to be very, very soon. Yeah, he's not even talking about that. And that right there, he's putting oil over human life. He's not even concerned. You know, I got more respect right now for China. China sent planes over to get their people out. They made sure all of their people got out safely. America threw bombs and then told people they need to leave. And, knowing damn well if bombs are flying, they're not going to let commercial planes go up in the air. So he doesn't care. He does not care. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see how actively they've been getting people sent over there, military personnel. All right. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Yeah, I saw more countries were dragging Donald Trump. See, Donald Trump wants allies to join America out there, and nobody is joining America because they think the war is dumb. They think you should not have started this war. So, yeah, so other countries are not inclined to sacrifice their people for an unnecessary war. So he's all butt sore about that, but he don't have a choice but to get over it because nobody is I haven't heard about any country coming out there to join America. Thank you, everybody, for the ones.
Breaking news this hour. The Pentagon is deploying about 5,000 U.S. Marines and sailors to the Middle East as the war in Iran continues to grow. According to NBC News, the additional forces are being sent to support U.S. operations in the region. U.S. officials say the group includes about 2,500 Marines and 2,500 sailors. The Marines are from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, or MEU, based in Japan. That unit is trained for fast crisis response, including evacuations, embassy protection, and helping open the way for other U.S. forces. So the sailors are from the Tripoli Amphibious Ready Group, which includes 3 vessels. I believe it's the USS San Diego, USS Tripoli, and the USS New Orleans. Those ships had been operating in the Philippines, but are now moving west. NBC reports that U.S. officials said CENTCOM requested these extra forces so Marines would be available to give military leaders more options in this war. The Pentagon did not publicly confirm the movement, saying it does not discuss future or hypothetical operations for security reasons, unless it's in a leaked signal chat. But the message here is clear. The United States is moving more forces closer to the region as this conflict deepens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys subscribe to my free Substack and YouTube for all the news and the breakdowns of what's actually happening in this world.
So pedo Trump waited till after the market closed today to announce the additional 5,000 service members being sent to the Middle East to fight Iran. We are so close to putting boots on the ground in Iran. Polymarket now says there's a 67% chance that U.S. forces enter Iran this year. And I just want to ask, how many Americans are going to have to die for Israel? And I guarantee we're going to see a lot more of this in the coming weeks as we build up our numbers over there. Iran has shown it's much more capable of defending themselves than the Trump administration thought they would. We're not going to be able to complete our military objectives just through aerial bombardment. If we're going to do what Trump says he wants to do, we're going to have to put boots on the ground, and that will be devastating. A lot of people are going to die, and here at home, our prices are going to skyrocket. So follow me if you want to keep updated on this stuff.
Breaking news from the United States about the rising tension in the Middle East. Around 5,000 more U.S. Marines and sailors are being sent to the region to support operations connected to the conflict involving Iran. 3 U.S. officials confirmed the development while speaking to the network. These troops are part of an Amphibious Ready Group, ARG, and a Marine Expeditionary Unit, MEU. An MEU is specially trained to respond quickly during major crises. Their missions can include evacuating people from dangerous areas, protecting embassies, and helping secure locations before larger military forces arrive. Officials also said that U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, asked for the additional deployment. According to a U.S. official, the original plan for the conflict included keeping Marines ready so leaders would have different military options available if the situation escalated. This new deployment shows how seriously the U.S. military is preparing for developments in the region.
Some breaking news coming out of the US regarding the ongoing situation in the Middle East. We're hearing from our colleagues at NBC that approximately 5,000 additional Marines and sailors are deploying to the area to support the war in Iran. This is according to 3 US officials speaking to NBC. The service members make up an Amphibious Ready Group and Marine Expeditionary Unit known as ARG and MEU. Now, we're told that an MEU is notable because they are trained for crisis response, evacuations from dangerous areas, protecting embassies, etc. Also trained to be the first ones in on the ground to set up areas for other forces. CENTCOM, we're told, requested the additional forces because, and I quote, part of the plan for this war was to have Marines available to provide options for use. That is according to a US official. So, breaking news coming out of the US, approximately 5,000 additional Marines and sailors are deploying to the Middle East to support the war in Iran. That's according to US officials speaking to our colleagues at NBC, keeping across that throughout the evening.
More than 50,000 troops, 200 fighters, 2 aircraft carriers, and bombers from the United States are participating in this operation, and more capability is on the way. We're less than 100 hours into this operation, and we've already struck nearly 2,000 targets with more than 2,000 munitions. We have severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of Iran's ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones. And in simple terms, we're focused on shooting all the things that can shoot at us. We are also sinking the Iranian Navy, the entire Navy. Thus far, we've destroyed 17 Iranian ships, including the most operational Iranian submarine that now has a hole in its side. For decades, the Iranian regime has harassed international shipping. Today, there's not a single Iranian ship underway in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, or Gulf of Oman.
All right, we need to talk because things are starting to really get serious. The Pentagon has now sent a Marine Expeditionary Unit, a MEU, towards the Middle East as tensions with Iran keep escalating. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain to you why this is a big deal. So here's what exactly is happening. The U.S. military has deployed a Marine Expeditionary Unit, also called a MEU, like I mentioned before, to the region near Iran. And if you're not familiar with that term, this isn't just a few Marines getting on a plane. A Marine Expeditionary Unit is about 2,200 to 5,000 Marines, plus aircraft, armored vehicles, artillery, amphibious ships. This is basically a self-contained invasion force. We travel on Navy ships. We can launch helicopters, Ospreys, and landing crafts. And they're designed to be the first troops into a conflict zone. Think rapid assaults, right? Embassy evacuations, island seizures, or the first wave before larger forces pretty much arrive. Now, according to reporting from the Wall Street Journal and defense officials, this MEU is being sent to the Middle East because of the growing conflict with Iran and the attacks happening in and around the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important shipping lanes in the world, as we've been telling you day in and day out. You don't move a Marine Expeditionary Unit into a region unless you're preparing for real-time military operations. This is what the United States deploys when things could escalate rather quickly. And someone who has been part of MEUs and seen how these things are put together, every time you hear about deployments like this means that there's going to be a potential boots on the ground situation. And right now, the question nobody in Washington seems to want to answer is this, okay? Are we preparing for deterrence, or are we preparing for a much bigger war in Iran or with Iran? Because those are two very different things. And if this conflict keeps escalating, these Marines could end up being the first boots on the ground if things actually do spiral out of control. So I want to ask you something. Do you think the U.S. sending Marines to the region is meant to prevent war, or do you think it means we're getting closer to one? Do me a favor, please like this video, share, repost, bookmark it. Let's continue talking about this.
The US is sending 5,000 Marines to Iran in order to prep for some sort of a ground operation, which looks like they're doing in order to take over the Strait of Hormuz from Iran, as these 5,000 Marines will create the conditions needed for the US to send a large ground force to then take control of the strait from Iran. And the Marines are on their way from Japan, and it'll take roughly 2 weeks for them to get there. And people are interpreting this move as either Trump is bluffing in order to ease the markets and show them that he is doing something to take over the strait from Iran in order to control oil prices, which are once again going above 100. And he'll then use the additional 2 weeks in order to find a way to end the war in Iran and get out. Or Donald Trump is falling farther down the escalation trap and is sending the Marines in order for them to get set up, get destroyed by the Iranians, and then Trump will seek US public support to send more troops. And history seems to be repeating itself, as the first deployment that the Pentagon made in Vietnam was also a Marine Expeditionary Unit. And to the Marines, remember, the Iranians are waiting for you.
The Pentagon is now sending additional warships and thousands of Marines toward the Middle East. This is a major escalation in a war that Donald Trump said is almost over. This is according to 3 U.S. officials. Pete Hegseth has approved a request from U.S. Central Command, responsible for American forces in the Middle East, for an element of an amphibious ready group and attached Marine Expeditionary Unit. Such a unit would typically include several warships and about 5,000 Marines, according to the officials. Here's what's interesting. This trip is roughly 6,000 nautical miles, which would take around 12 to 16 days, although it's unclear of when it left. So Donald Trump says the war could be wrapped up in 4 to 5 weeks, 2 to 5 weeks now, and now we have a unit that won't even get there until the tail end of that timeline. So what are we doing? This news also comes just after we've learned the total death toll for U.S. troops in the Iran war has now grown to 13. Now, thousands of additional U.S. troops are being sent into the Middle East, putting their lives at risk for a war that should have never been started.
Come on. Okay, y'all. So, you know what? All I can do is pray for these folks that are going over there because there's no plan. And I know Donald Trump probably just told them go over there and just take the Straits of Hormuz, like nobody's going to challenge them on it. And it's sad. I hate to see these young people lose their lives, but we are in those times, y'all. We are in those times, and the Gentiles are in a full scale fight, and this is not going to end well. Right now, we are all witnessing the downfall of the US. And like I've been seeing online, a lot of people are saying Donald Trump, he ain't going to recover from this loss, and he won't. He's invested too much into it without a plan, and he's not going to be able to justify to these families why their loved one is no longer here. And look, the anti-war protests have already begun. And see, that's why he's got the FBI in 15 states at these polling places, because he knows there is no way these Republicans are going to win after starting this war. So he's got to look for a way to cheat, because he can't get it any other way at this point in time. But, y'all, all we're going to hear about is a bunch of bad things happening to these troops. And you know what they're going to do? More than likely try to hide it, just like they are now. You know, give you some ridiculously low number of casualties and act like that's what we're supposed to believe. So, y'all, stay prayed up, stay close to the Most High, because it's about to get worse. So, y'all, this is my final live for today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And be on the lookout for my lives coming up tomorrow. And in fact, I got one already scheduled, 11:45 a.m. And we're going to talk about the Americans that are stranded in the Middle East. So I will see you then. Shalom, family.